Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and I welcome all of you back to another Electric Avenue reaction video. And this one should be quite a lot of fun because for a very, very long time, I've wanted to talk about a very specific type of music, genre music, but a lot of things that are accompanied not only in movie soundtracks, but also the James Bond series. Now, it's no secret, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, I think, actually, to be honest, for what they are worth, I may as well just talk a little bit briefly about my overall experience with the James Bond films. Is that I mostly watch them just for the sake of just watching something just a little bit fun and with a little bit of cool action involved. I don't really go into them looking for some deep, overarching storyline, or I just go into them because I think they're just quite fun, and if they're a bit if you can engage with the amount of action that takes place, then so be it. And the last actual James Bond film I saw was Spectre back in 2015, I think. That was the one where Dave Bautista literally played this very henchy, but then again, Dave Bautista has always been very henchy, and he played this just this hitman for the baddies, and basically Dave has one whole line in the whole film, and it was shit. No, literally, his line was just shit before he gets dragged out of a train. And yeah, that's kind of really where it begins and ends. But the music, however, is a very, very cool extra to a lot of the James Bond films. But some of them are, like, for me, to be honest, for a very long time now, I've kind of actually wanted to do every single James Bond opening song from worst to best. And during that process, I knew two things were certain. First was that Sam Smith's Writing on the Wall, which was the opening to Spectre, was going to place either at the bottom or somewhere near the bottom of the list, because I'm not really a fan of Sam Smith anyway, but even that was really annoying to listen to. And the other thing was that either License to Kill, Thunderball, or Skyfall was going to rank somewhere at the top, because outside of the fact that those three films are fantastic anyway, it's the fact that the songs on their own are brilliant. In fact, to be honest, the last time I actually watched James Bond was at least 7 years ago, and it turned out to be License to Kill, which, outside of the fact it's probably the best Pierce Brosnan James Bond film, but it was also the one where I just felt it was just kind of, it ticked all the right boxes. It knew exactly what it was as a James Bond film, and it sort of just went through all the cool highlights. However, I've never seen Thunderball, I've never seen No Time to Die, and to be honest, I think I've seen maybe 6 of the James Bond films, and they would be somewhere like Casino Royale, Goldfinger, No Time, not No Time. What is it? What's the one with George Lazenby? I think it was that one. Then it was also like I said, Casino Royale, Skyfall, and Quantum of Solace. And good lord, my memory is so bad, I can't even remember what the opening song to Quantum of Solace was. But those films are great. Casino Royale is actually, it's got one of the best openings as well, by the late great Chris Cornell. And that sort of brings me up to today, ladies and gentlemen, because even though I've never seen No Time to Die, I'm also aware that this is also Daniel Craig's last outing as James Bond, I think, until the next one comes out. And this one also is done by Billie Eilish. Now, for what they're worth, this is only roughly about my 3rd or 4th time ever listening to Miss Eilish, and I can't wait to see actually how she does this. It's going to be interesting, ladies and gentlemen. But then again, Billie Eilish is a very, very interesting and fascinating person, so this should tick all the right boxes as well. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. No Time to Die. Here we go. Oh, there she is.
I'd leave alone. Just goes to show that the blood you bleed is just the blood you own.
It's, you know what, again, we're nearly almost a minute into this already, and Billie Eilish has said, I mean, listen, even without knowing anything about No Time to Die, I get a feeling of almost, like, of a finality to this. Almost as though if this was to be Mr. Bond's very last outing, then it should go not with a bang, but something fleeting, as though life is disappearing before our very eyes, and that we should go quietly into that good night. Almost, it's swan song is the way I would describe this so far. Melancholy swan song. A melancholy swan song.
We were a pair, but I saw you there. Too much to bear. You were my life, but life is far away from fair. Was I stupid to love you? Was I reckless to help? Was it obvious to everybody else that I've fallen for a lie? You were never on my side. Fool me once, fool me twice. Are you dead or paradise? Now you never see me cry. There's just no time to die.
I think right about here, ladies and gentlemen, where just at this exact moment is where I think, like any great James Bond opening, there's something uplifted, as though something underneath us is coming up through the very floors, and it comes alive somewhat. And that, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, I that is a fantastic thing to do in music anyway, but when it's purposefully slow and when everything is built up and there's such a great feeling to this, fine, that's when, like, it really begins. And I think, I mean, I very rarely cover songs. Well, maybe many years ago I covered a lot of songs that were very slow burners, but this, ladies and gentlemen, it has to be said, this is not just slow. Well, slow it, but again, that's why I think, again, for Billie Eilish, this is absolutely, like, the person they chose to do this was perfect. The feeling of the song is perfect, and it absolutely fits for what they were going for as well. It makes Skyfall kind of does the same thing as this, but I think I prefer this even more.
It burn. You're no longer my concern. Faces from my past return. Another lesson yet to learn that I'd fallen for a lie. You were never on my side. Fool me once, fool me twice. Are you dead or paradise? Now you die.
God damn, ladies and gentlemen, and that was okay. So that was like really fun. That was nuts, ladies and gentlemen. I just again, you know what? Again, to sort of describe the feeling of this, I kind of unfortunately have to also compare this a little bit to Writings on the Wall by Sam Smith. And I think the problem I have with Sam Smith a little bit is the fact that it's a bit it comes across as like you know writing it goes, but the writings on the wall. It comes across it's too harsh, and it feels like it's too hot. It's too forced and like harsh. And maybe this is just, I don't know. That's my own opinion about it. But the fact is that Billie Eilish, there are two things I could absolutely say with absolute gusto is that it never comes across as forced and it never comes across as harsh. It comes across as Billie Eilish doing what she considers harsh. And to be fair as well, the song absolutely carries these notes. You know what? Do you stay with the person who you know is in trouble 24/7? You know because of his track record. Again, there are lives that could be wrecked forever in this. And one more thing I just gotta straight up add, ladies and gentlemen, is that Billie Eilish, if Billie Eilish was ever, if she was ever in something like James Bond, it would almost be make too much sense as well, because you got someone who sings with such gusto and dramatic verse and chorus that it makes her look relatively very innocent despite her subject matter. It's, you know what I mean? If someone like, say, Ice Spice sang something like this, I think people would just never talk about it again, because it would be it wouldn't quite really sink, if that makes sense. Not that I think Ice Spice couldn't do stuff like this, but you kind of see what I'm getting at here. Adele absolutely could be. I could see Adele doing something like this. I could even see her as being someone like M, for example. But for what they are, ladies and gentlemen, that was fantastic. Another ball out of the park, and I hope all of you guys enjoyed it too, because remember, there is also no time to die because we're too busy living. Dying is no fun. I don't really know I needed to say anything like that, but here we are. It's one of those days. Good night, ladies and gentlemen, and I cannot wait to talk to you guys again in the next video. Take care, and bye-bye for now.